Good evening and welcome to the Candidates Night sponsored by CHIP. It's hard to believe, but we've been doing this Candidates Night for over 20 years. Can you believe that? We just celebrated our 25th anniversary for the Hispanic Leadership Conference, and I think we're almost close to being 25 years with the Candidates Night, so we're very proud of that. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome Alicia Pardon to do our prayer, opening prayer.
Lord, please help us to build a sense of community in our area and in our world. Help us to recognize that we are all brothers and sisters made in your image. May our duty to participate see our communities thrive, enable us to create a fairer world where everyone's voices can be heard. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Pardon. If we please stand to do the Pledge of Allegiance. We used to have a flag over there. We'll just look at Mike. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, in liberty and justice for all. The forum will be moderated by Mike Ferrell, Carmen Levis, who are trustees for CHIP, and also Alicia Pardon, the Vice President of CHIP. Our first, not candidate, but our first levy, issue 6 levy renewal, I would like to introduce Dr. Amber Fisher from the Murray Ridge Levy Committee.
Hello, I'm Amber Fisher representing the Murray Ridge Levy Committee, and I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to speak with you today about Issue 6, a renewal levy for Murray Ridge Center that will appear on the May 2nd ballot and, if passed, will not increase taxes. Murray Ridge Center is very proud to serve more than 3,000 Lorain County children and adults with developmental disabilities each year. Murray Ridge is widely known in our community, but I'll begin by giving a broad overview of services because some may not be aware of the broad scope of support provided. Murray Ridge Center truly supports eligible individuals for a lifetime, starting with early intervention services for children from birth to 3 years of age who have developmental delays. A skilled team of Murray Ridge developmental specialists works hand in hand with families to promote the development of these children, and we repeatedly hear testimonials from parents about how very important those early intervention services are. Murray Ridge School receives children that are referred by all Lorain County school districts. And many of our students have, in addition to developmental disabilities, significant medical conditions and behavioral challenges that need to be addressed. Murray Ridge Center also provides or coordinates, monitors, and funds an array of services for adults with developmental disabilities. Murray Ridge operates 3 week-long, 365-day-a-year adult centers in Oberlin, Lorain, and Elyria. At these centers, adults are able to participate in skills development and vocational training, and they're also able to socialize and to participate in community integration and volunteering within the community. Murray Ridge also provides supported employment services that assist adults to secure jobs from local employers and to be successful in those jobs through a coaching program that we operate, where we assist individuals to meet the expectations of employers and then gradually fade away as adults become comfortable in those settings. It's important to say that adult services are also provided by an array of private providers in our community, and those services are actually planned, monitored, and funded by Murray Ridge Center. Murray Ridge also provides and funds residential services for individuals with developmental disabilities. While many local citizens with developmental disabilities reside with their families, many do need residential placement or support. And this is where we come in and develop individualized service plans for residential care. We monitor the services, and we pay either 100% of the cost or we pay the non-federal share of the Medicaid funding for these services. Murray Ridge also provides service and support administration, which is a key service similar to case management. Through our Service and Support Administration, or SSA department, we provide not only information and referral, regardless of eligibility, but we provide those critical services of planning for individuals, assisting them to access needed resources in the community, including those that are funded through Murray Ridge Center. Murray Ridge also supports families. We have a family support program that supports hundreds of families who have both children and adults in the family home. We have a team of investigative agents that's concerned with investigating any allegations or incidents of abuse and neglect and creating prevention plans to prevent those things from happening again. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our wonderful Special Olympics program, through which hundreds of adults participate in athletic competitions and develop team building skills and including physical skills. So that is a broad overview of the services that we provide at Murray Ridge. Issue 6 is a 5-year renewal levy that brings in more than 35% of Murray Ridge Center's funding. And because local levy dollars are utilized to pull down federal funding for many of the services, significantly more than 35% of the support provided by Murray Ridge is at stake. Issue 6 is a renewal levy that, if passed, will not increase taxes, but it is critically important for local citizens with developmental disabilities to continue to receive essential services. These people are our loved ones, they're our neighbors, they're our friends, and in some cases, they're our co-workers. Your support of Issue 6 would be deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher. Issue 6 levy renewal. We're going to start tonight with Lorain City Council 5th Ward, Antonio Barrios and Joanne Moon.
Okay, before I welcome our two candidates for the Lorain City Council 5th Ward, we would like to thank Dr. Fisher again for being here, and also inform Dr. Fisher that your issue is a very important issue to the CHIP organization, and you have our unanimous support. Okay, so we welcome now the two individuals who are running for the 5th Ward. The incumbent is Ms. Joanne Moon, and her opposition is Antonio Barrios. Both of them are well-known individuals in this community. For those of you who are not aware, a primary is a little different than the general election. During the primary, Democrats are competing against Democrats, Republicans are competing against Republicans to come up with the top people. And those people will then run on the two opposing sides, will run against each other in the general election in November. So, welcome to both of you, and we're going to begin with opening statements. Mr. Barrios, you have 1.5 minutes for your opening statement. Oh, no, that's okay. The microphone is for you right there, so that you guys don't have to get up and move around at all.
That's good, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Buenos días, mi gente. So, Glad everybody's here. I am Antonio Barrios. I've been in the 5th Ward ever since I came to the United States back in the 50s. I love the 5th Ward. I am very much tied to it. My roots are here. I've been working a lot with the cleanups and doing a lot of community things, and I've had a chance to talk with people, and people have talked with me, and I've listened to what they're saying and what their needs are, and I think they have impressed me with the need for a representation at City Council to be a bit more energetic, a bit more active, a bit more involved with the community itself. Now, having knocked on all those doors and worked on all those programs, I've heard from them directly what their thoughts are. I'm not saying what my needs are, but yes, I also need to help my community because that's something the way I'm built. So before this, I was doing a lot of work in the community with the cleanups and with all the different other activities that I have done to help promote South Lorain and especially the 5th Ward. So I am here today to hopefully explain to you and to the community what I would like to do and what my answers will be to these questions, because it's very important for the 5th Ward that feels they have been left and neglected for a long, long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Ms. Moon, your opening statement.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Moon. I have been 5th Ward Council person since 2016. During my time, I have accomplished many improvements in my ward. I've helped with the management of the city of Lorain. As a council person, I've been able to use my knowledge and experience to better the 5th Ward. I believe in putting 110% into my commitment to Lorain. When I contact my concerned citizens, I go to the site of the concern. I make the necessary contacts with the city. I follow through until I get results. I've always sure that I keep the concerned citizens updated. From road conditions to home rehabs, I am involved. Lorain has been my home all my life. I grew up feeling safe. I am proud of my community. I want others to feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moon. And your first question will come from Ms. Alicia Pardon.
Ms. Moon, what do you hope to accomplish as a city council member or continuing as a city council member?
Well, we have projects going on in the ward right now, and one of them was the Red Hill Water, where they went in the 5th Ward and they did the water lines, and it was free of charge. Nobody had to pay for that. We also have a project going on with disability apartments, but that's going to be like another 7 years or so. But it's South Garden, and I'm looking forward and helping with that. But the most thing I have is homeless shelters. I want to make sure that the people in the homeless shelter are taken care. They're not living under bridges. We have a lot of veterans, and I want to make sure that they get fed, and they also have homes. They don't have to stay in the shelter. They can venture out and have their own place.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios, same question. What do you hope to accomplish as a city council member?
What was that? Is that number 9?
Number 10.
I hope to change things. In all my marketing and announcements, I'm always talking about the change. We need a change, and that is what has come from the people that I've knocked on their doors, and they want to see a change. City Council has kind of somehow lost track of the 5th Ward. If any of you here are from 5th Ward, you know what I'm talking about. We're always the last to get any help, always the last to get the streets fixed, whatever it is. 5th Ward seems to be the orphan child, and that's why I am interested in changing that. I want to change that with my role at City Council. I believe I will be a positive, strong voice for the people to bring their views, not my views, but bring their views up to City Council and fix the things that are not right, because the people in the 5th Ward are very unhappy, and we need to fix that.
Thank you. And your next set of questions will come from Mrs. Carmen Libas.
Mr. Barrios, if elected, what attributes, skills do you bring to your elected position, and how would you utilize these attributes or skills to meet the needs of the citizens in your ward?
That's a good question, thank you. And by the way, thank Chip and the organization for putting together this very important candidates night. One of the things that I believe I'm very strong is as a communicator. And as a communicator, that's how you get to find out what's going on with the people and the community. Not things that are just done on an automatic basis at City Hall, but that the voice of the actual people comes to be heard. And to be a good communicator, you have to be a good listener. If you can sit and listen to what the people are saying and what their problems are, then a lot of times what your next move would come directly from what they're saying. Instead of trying to implement things that I think that they need, I prefer to listen to them so they tell me what they need, and then that becomes my need. And I will definitely communicate that to the rest of City Council, and obviously working in accomplishing together with them, because no one person in City Hall can get things done. It's always a compromise. So hopefully I'll continue with my communication with city members and get things done for the 5th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Ms. Moon, the same question?
Was that number 1?
Yes. If elected, what attributes, skills do you bring to your elected position, and how would you utilize these attributes or skills to meet the needs of the citizens in your ward?
Well, I have experience with the legislation, and I also have experience with the budget. And I often tell people it's not so much the roads, but it's also about the community. A lot of times I have people come to me where they need wheelchairs. A lot of times they'll come to me where they need food. And like I said, I really enjoy being in that ward and helping people, because even though there's a pothole or whatever's going on, we have filled most of those potholes with our new machines. A lot of roads have been done in the 5th Ward. So I also listen to the people. And not only that, we visit, we go to those potholes, and I get back to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moon. The next set of questions will come from Mike Ferral.
Okay, we will go with Ms. Moon. Ms. Moon, this is question 2 on your sheet. Both of you guys have talked a little bit about the needs of your ward, and that you will address the needs of that ward. So my question to you, starting with Ms. Moon, is what do you feel are the most important needs of the residents in your ward? And as a councilman or councilwoman, how would you address these needs?
Well, housing is very important in my ward. Like I said, I have a lot of homeless shelter and also busing. I have a lot of people that have jobs, but they have trouble getting to the job. So to get them to busing, because it's so hard, because when they have Uber, it's so expensive. I also want to make sure that they can venture out. We have gardens, so we have a lot of gardens in my neighborhood where that way they can have fresh vegetables. And also the homes in my ward that have been torn down, because we had a lot of people living in those abandoned homes. So the city has taken down a lot of those abandoned homes.
Okay, thank you. Same question to you, Mr. Barrios?
Well, the people in the 5th Ward are kind of, how can I say, they're tired of having our community be totally housing, low-income housing. And if you know about the people that do own their homes, a bunch of low-income housing in your same area, and you get flooded with low-income housing, that actually drops the property value on your home also. So these people that are hardworking people, tax-paying people that own their own homes really don't want to have all that low-income housing come to the 5th Ward. We would love to see housing, but good housing, equitable housing, but we could stop being the low-income housing center of the city of Lorain. The people don't want that anymore. They're tired of that. It doesn't help them. They're also concerned about the safety that's going on. And the lack of it, actually, we need better patrols, we need better safety in South Lorain because a lot of crime and violence happens there, and we need more police protection and more police action. And this is what the people want and need in order to live a better life, security.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Your final question will come from Ms. Libas.
The next question, Mr. Barrios, will be question 11. If you hear about something that concerns your ward, what steps would you take to see that the concern is addressed and resolved?
Well, the first thing when I hear something is that I try to figure, is it true or not? Because people say a lot of things, and they're not always true. So if there's a rumor or something going on, I would try to find out if it's true, if it's actual, if it's a real situation, who is the source, what is it really about, to find out if it's a legitimate cause. Because again, people will say a lot of things just to say things. People say things just to have attention. So you really have to be careful with something like something happening in the ward. You've got to assure yourself that what they're saying is really true. Then, if the fact is the fact, then you see how you can address it, whether it's a safety issue, whether it's a housing issue, whether it's a zoning issue. It doesn't matter. I think the first thing you have to take care of is to make sure it's factual and then move on and see what department in the city would be obliged to work with you on that. And working with all the departments, up in City Hall is very important. So come with the facts and be sure about what you're talking about, and don't spread rumors, because that doesn't help anybody. Most of it makes you foolish, kind of running on something that's not true. So that's my first answer to that.
Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Ms. Moon, the same question, number 11.
I often tell the residents, this is not my ward, this is your ward. A lot of times when I visit them, I name them number 1 council person, number 2 council person. Because if you don't, I tell them also, come to council meeting, get to know what's going on in the 5th ward or any ward. Because if you don't know what's going on, you can get lost out here. So I enjoy going to their homes, work with them. We walk around the neighborhood, we spend time together, and they also visit my home. They will knock on my door at any time and say, I have a problem, and I welcome them there.
Thank you, Ms. Moon. Now I'll turn it over to Alicia for closing statement.
You will each get 1.5 minutes for closing remarks. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 minutes for closing remarks. Ms. Moon, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you this evening. If you have any question or would like to discuss any of these issues further, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. As 5th Ward Council person, I am here for you, our community. I promise to continue to be a positive influence in Lorain, Ohio, and support the improvement in the 5th Ward. Please remember me on May 2nd, 2023, Joanne Moon, 5th Ward Council person.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios, your 2 minutes.
Yes, I want to say again thank you to Chip and the organization for putting this together. I am very honored to actually state that I have been endorsed by a 6th Ward Council, Mr. Ray Carrion, and I've also been endorsed by the SOAR group, which is the Retired Steelworkers Union people, and I am very, very pleased that I have their recommendation and endorsement. But mostly it's the people that have reached out to me and talked to me about what's going on, about why is 5th Ward the orphan child, that they don't want to have anymore. They want a change. And I keep telling them, I am that change, but I can't do the change unless you vote. So you be the change. And I try to involve them in being that change, that I may be able to manifest that at City Hall. So they have to be the change, and I can be that change at City Hall to make things move and to get things going in the 5th Ward. It needs it desperately. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes this portion of the race, and we will take a small break while we transition into the next.
What kind of Titans are we? This is a question we have to ask ourselves every day as we walk these halls. In Lorain City Schools, we are passionate about kindness. We believe one simple act of kindness can start the movement that changes the world around us. As a school, our positive behavioral intervention and support approach, or for short, PBIS, model is rooted in kindness. Our goal as a school is to increase our students and staff's kindness to self, kindness to others, and kindness to our environments. When we increase kindness in our school, we will decrease the behaviors that interfere with the positive environments we want in every school in our district. Let's see what that looks like in our buildings. The expectation of kindness in our schools starts the moment you begin your day. Upon entering classrooms, it is important that we remember to be on time, be prepared and have technology and supplies ready, be engaged and maintain a clean classroom. Our Titan expectation to be kind to self, kind of others, and kind to our environment extends to the hallways, in our restrooms, in the main office, in the cafeteria, and on school transportation. Our staff will be here to model, teach, and reward positive behaviors with the goal of creating a school culture of kindness. That's because the common expectations are designed to be the standard in every classroom and every school in Lorain City Schools. Titans, we know you can do this. Let's show the world what kind of Titans we are.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Ohio State is saving lives every day.
This is Ohio State.
We're the economic engine of the state, a major employer.
Over 60,000 students. We're on the forefront of cancer research. An educational core of Ohio.
Impacting tens of thousands daily.
Our alumni organization is nearly 500,000 worldwide.
This is Ohio State.
This is Ohio State.
Ohio State.
This is the Ohio State University.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're now going to cover the race for council at large. First thing we'd like you to see are the names of the 4 Republicans who are running for council at large. Mr. Brooks, Mr. Dennis, Mr. Linger, and Mr. Garcia. The second slide are the Democrats running for council at large. Mr. Demakia, Ms. Duval, Mr. Eliopoulos, Ms. Garcia, Mr. Gibbon, and Mr. Kazura. We are grateful that we have half of the teams here with us tonight. And these are the individuals that are here with us tonight. One thing that Chip is very proud of, many of you my age would probably remember the days where, and still happens occasionally, when someone ran for office and then they ran for office and then they ran for office and no one ever opposed them. Our community needs to make sure that we always oppose a candidate, always, just so that they have it in the back of their mind. Don't do your job, you won't be there. Amen. But when they run unopposed, they believe that the Lord has given them the authority. That isn't necessarily true, and make sure they never feel that way. So we are so grateful that there are 10 candidates, 10 for council at large. And we welcome all of them, Ms. Duval, Mr. Linger, Mr. Kazura, Mr. Brooks, and Mr. Dennis here today. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll start today with Mr. Brooks. With your opening statement, you have 1.5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Kyrese Brooks, and I'm running for City Council at large because this is the right now generation. If not now, then when? You know, that's why I'm running. I'm running for the people so they can have their voices back for the generations to come. For far too long, we forget about our youth. Our youth is our future. Our youth is our tomorrow. If they're not here, then who will be there? God bless you.
Okay, Mr. Dennis, your opening statement.
Hello, thank you for letting me come to this and having it. My name is Raymond Dennis. I want to run for City Council at large so I can be a voice for the citizens of Lorain, and not just one or two, but all of them. I believe there's things that could be changed in Lorain, that could be different, and I just hope that we can do that as a group. Thank you.
Ms. Duval, your opening statement.
Good evening. And I want to thank CHIPS again for your duty, for your doing your duty to the community to let them hear the people who want to represent them. I have worked with many, many groups in the city since I came here as a teacher 30-some years ago. And one of the things that occurred to me was that these groups I'm working with are excellent at what they do, but they are Band-Aids on issues. And one of the things that I would like to do is to be at the table where policy is developed that addresses these issues. It's not enough to just put a Band-Aid on it. We want to get to the source of the problem and heal it. So I decided to, after looking at the progress that has been done with women throughout this United States in moving up into leadership roles, I said, why not? Let me try it, because this is my bailiwick. This is what I desire to do. And so I put my, you throw your hat in a race, I guess. You threw your hat, I threw my hat in a race. So I'm really looking forward to working with the city of Lorain and the people, many of whom I know and have worked with in the past, to try to make Lorain a better place to live. I've been a teacher for many, many years, and I love the city of Lorain. I fell in love with it when I came here to live, and I want it to be the best possible city that it can be.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. Mr. Kuzura, your opening statement, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Is it on? Okay. I'm delighted to be here with you this evening. I have been blessed to have a career in public service that I'm proud of. I was proud of my first public service was being drafted into the United States Army in 1968 and serving my country and yours in Vietnam. I also, you know, I come from a family of 11 kids, and so sometimes people say you can't do some things, but if you work hard enough, you can. I think I bring a lot to the table. As this young man said, it's important to have youngsters involved, younger people, and I appreciate that. I believe in that. What I think I bring to the table is experience, knowledge, and institutional memory. Organization is great to have young people, middle-of-the-road people, but you got to have someone who knows what happened, what could happen, what are we going to do about it, how did we solve that, and I think that's what I bring to the table. And I am going to humbly ask all of you for your vote and support on election, right now, in fact, early voting started, and on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzura. Mr. Linger, your opening statement, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm Marlon Linger. I was born and raised in Lorain. I went to Fairholme Elementary, Longfellow Middle School, Admiral King High School. Went on from there to Kent State University. From there, I also graduated from Ohio State University, where I got master's and bachelor's degrees in biochem, and also an MBA at the University of North Dakota. I was an Air Force officer and a program manager for NASA. I think what I bring to the table is perhaps some different experience from other people. I have a lot of education experience. I was a long-term substitute teacher here in Lorain and Cuyahoga County. I taught at Lorain County Community College. I started the Aerospace Club at Lorain Community College. where one of our students, a Hispanic student, went on to win the Air Force drone competition and walked away with $1,500 in his pocket. I'm out here to help people around here as best I can, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linger. We'll now start with your first question that will be asked for you by Ms. Pardon.
Mr. Dennis, we're going to start with you, and just so everybody knows, the first question is going to be number 8. How do you feel about giving parents the power to remove books from libraries that they find objectionable or offensive?
I believe it's based on their beliefs. I don't know that a book should be removed from the library just because a parent does not like it. Some parents may use it as an educational background for their children, because books are part of history. Stories are usually made from history, and removing a book completely because it may be offensive to a few people is not fair to the mass. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duvall, same question.
Let me share your mic. We'll start out with an idiom. It says, one man's trash is another man's treasure. We have seen the banning of books throughout history, starting back in ancient China when they burned manuscripts that they didn't believe in. We've seen it in Nazi Germany where they burned books they didn't believe in, or books that taught something different than what they wanted to be taught. I am distressed by this. It is a violation of, number one, teachers' rights to teach alternative ideas that may not agree with everyone. But the number one way to make sure your child doesn't get a book you don't want them to have is to go to the library with them. Your child's reading material, your child's movie selections, that's your responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility to ban books that someone else objects to. And I really feel that if we aren't careful, if you look at the recent decision of a judge that cut out a medicine that's been approved for 23 years because he didn't believe that the basis for, his philosophy was different than what the pill stood for. So this is very dangerous. People are to have choices, and they're to make up their own minds about things. And if you're concerned about your child, go with them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kazura, same question. How do you feel about giving parents the power to remove books from libraries that they find objectionable or offensive?
I am totally opposed. Parents have to take care of their own children and watch what their children are reading. And I just feel that, as Sylvia said, this is happening all over the country. Legislation to decide what you're going to do, running people for Board of Education offices to try to also control the agenda in schools. So I am adamantly opposed.
Thank you. Mr. Linger, same question.
I think teachers are supposed to be leaders, okay? And there's such a thing as good leadership, and there's bad leadership. If you have teachers that are promoting material which most people would not want to be seen reading in public, okay, well, they shouldn't be feeding that to our children. Okay, there is such a thing as going too far, okay? But what I've seen on YouTube, where some teachers or school boards are promoting pornographic material in the schools, somebody needs to hold those people accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Brooks, if you can wrap it up with the last question. Here we are. How do you feel about giving parents the power to remove books from libraries that they find objectionable or offensive?
Thank you for that wonderful question. Again, I do not agree that parents should have that power. I believe that for often too long in my 29 years of living, parents neglect to be involved in their children's life, their education, in their internet searches. So how dare you come all of a suddenly and try to say that certain books should not be there? But so often you don't even know what your child is doing throughout the day. I believe that we have to stand together as a people and as a city and make sure that this does not happen.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to Carmen.
Question 10, and we'll start with you, Ms. Duvall. What do you consider to be the city's essential services? Which of these services would you make your top priority if elected to the position of council at large?
I consider the city's essential services to be safety, the police force, the fire department, water department, those things that we depend on every day for our safety and our comfort. It would be very hard for me to say right now what would be my top priority, because I think they're all very important. And I don't see any lowering of any of these services in the city's future.
Thank you, Ms. Duvall. Mr. Kazura, the same question.
Well, number one, for sure, we're always concerned about safety, especially today. We do know that there's more guns in the community, and I think what has been done by the administration and the present council in beefing up the police department, and I think they're at a point where they're doing a really great job in keeping the citizens safe. Fire, of course, water, necessary, but there is also, quality of life. Parks has always been neglected in the city, but unfortunately, it was because of money issues that we haven't been able to do the things we would like to have done. So I think that's, the safety is always yours. We used to have a health department, now we're governed by the Lorain County Health Department, and they're doing the job for us. So, but I think safety forces is number one essential service.
Thank you, Mr. Kazura. Mr. Linger, the same question. What do you consider to be the city's essential services? Which of these services would you make your top priority if elected to the position of council at large?
Well, excuse me, but the only essential services that I'm aware of are power, water, heat, and trash removal. I didn't know there were any others. If you have any others, please mention them.
Thank you, Mr. Linger. Mr. Brooks, the same question.
One of the top things I would say is the safety of our community, and I believe they're all are essential. The fire department, all those things are essential, but again, I would just say the safety, and just continue to help the police department bridge the gaps in our community when it comes to our young people and just different individuals and backgrounds in our community. Continue to help build that community and work with the police department so that the community can help the police department make our community safer.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And we'll finish this question off with Mr. Dennis.
I believe fire and police are the most important. They would be my priority. Without fire and police, you have no control of your city. You have fires that are out of control, fights that would be out of control, everything. Without them, you have an unruly city completely, in my opinion. But yes, definitely police and fire come up with ways to help both areas, even if it's with citizens helping them out. I know we have the Black Watch in Lorain, but I'm sure there's other things we could do to help the departments control the situation that's going on in the city, be their eyes and ears, as we've been said before. I know the police department has those in their police auxiliary, I know that. But definitely police and fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. I'll turn it over to Mike for the next question.
Okay, we're going to start the next question with Mr. Kazura. On your sheet, it is question number 9. Mr. Kazura, how do you feel about the state of public transportation in Lorain? And what are your ideas on expanding and improving transportation for the city?
That's a beautiful question. But actually, of course, what do we have? Our public transportation in Lorain is terrible, like mostly all around Lorain County. Lorain County has tried to do a public transit service that is not used as well as they had hoped. I don't think there's any chance, I'm being honestly, that Lorain would have the funding. Right now, you look at the arguments I had in the legislature for years to get high-speed rail to Lorain, from Lorain to Cleveland to Cincinnati, and on a I-71 corridor. You can't even get enough money for transportation in the budget to do the right things we need to do. So I would say right offhand, Mike, that there's no idea I would have that we'd have funding for public transportation, other than encouraging Lorain County Transit Service to provide more service. But the other side, people have to use it. Everybody talks about they want to have public transportation, and guess what? Everybody gets in their car, one at a time, and drives away to where they go. And that's the problem, and that's what happened with most systems around. People do not use the systems, and until they do, it's going to be a hard thing to solve.
Thank you, Mr. Kazura. Mr. Linger, how do you feel about the state of public transportation in Lorain? What are your ideas on expanding and improving these services?
Well, I think I'm sorry. I think if it's an issue to some people, I think we ought to run a survey. It's not hard to run surveys nowadays. Ask people whether or not they actually need one. If they feel it's a need, well, you can appoint a committee to look at it, right?
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, same question.
The first thing I would do is I believe that is very important, that Lorain does need some type of transportation services. I see so many people walking and that cannot afford vehicles, cannot afford gas prices. So I would keep on searching and digging, try to find some type of funding somewhere, because I know there's funding somewhere. We can't give up hope for something that we know that our community needs. Our community needs, and when we do get that transportation services, we need to make sure that the prices are reasonable. The last time I remember those prices was outrageous. That's why they went out of business. That's why we couldn't keep it. So we need to fight and find some funding, because I know it's out there somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Dennis.
I feel that we do need transportation in Lorain. I think there's ways to making it. I know there should be ride share. Maybe there could be vouchers that we somehow find the funds, a grant or something for. Maybe those that are less fortunate, that are low income, maybe they could get a way of using the Lyft and Uber things. I know I personally am a Lyft driver in my spare time, and I've never turned anybody down for any amount of ride. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to give somebody a ride if I can. It's what the right thing to do, and I truly think Lorain does need to work on making sure people can get to their appointments, whether it be elderly people, handicapped people. And I know there's different ride shares and stuff that will come and pick those ones up, but there are also people that are hard workers that have to either ride a bike to work or walk all the way to work simply because they've made mistakes in the past, and they may not have a driver's license, or they just may not be able to afford a car and insurance, because it is very high nowadays, and so is gas, as Mr. Brooks put out. But yes, we definitely need to figure out a way so that Lorain has transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Duval, how do you feel about the state of public transportation in Lorain, and what are your ideas on expanding or improving transportation services?
Well, I feel that the state of public transportation in Lorain is very distressing. I do know that Lorain Community Action Agency is working with an organization called MOVE with Sharon Pearson to look at this problem. My understanding is that the governor has some money in his budget for transportation that has not been released. And I also know that I've worked with an organization, and as a matter of fact, it's the Lorain County Urban League, that had jobs for people, but they actually had to get the employer to come and pick up the workers. People are willing to work. They just don't have a way to get there. And so my idea is to really try to see if there is money in the governor's budget that he's not releasing, and trying to put pressure on the state to come through with some funding for this. We actually, a friend of mine and I actually tried to, with the ARPA funds, tried to write a grant for transportation for some people to medical appointments and things like that, and we weren't successful in following through on that. But it is a distressing situation, especially for people who want to work but can't get there for whatever reason.
Thank you, Ms. Duval. And now for your final question, I'll turn it over to Ms. Pardon.
It'll be Carmen.
Or rather, Ms. Liebes.
Okay, the next question is going to be question number 4, and we'll start with Mr. Linger. The question is, if the city budget called for serious cuts during a particular year, what departments or areas would you target for those budget reductions? Is there a department you would be looking to protect on behalf of Lorain citizens?
That's a really good question. I'd hate to see anything get taken down. I mean, we're already stripped to the bone, right? And I really miss the fact that we don't even have a really good recreation program in Lorain. Usually that's where you start, though, right? You cut out the fun stuff, you cut out recreation. I don't know where else you'd start. And also my apologies on the previous question about city services. I didn't know that came under the category of police and fire. Obviously those are necessary services. But for this sort of question, I would normally, I would join a committee and try to find out what has been done before, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and try to come up with some ideas. It's a very good question. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Linger. Mr. Brooks, the same question.
If the city calls for serious cuts, the first place that I will look at, I will go down to City Hall and I will look in that administration. Those people are making top dollar, and I don't understand why. So that's where I will cut at first. I will go straight down to City Hall. And the departments that I will protect is anything that make our community better, our youth, our seniors. Those are the departments, any of those departments that help those people are the ones that I will protect.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Dennis, the question 4, same question. If the city budget called for serious cuts during a particular year, what departments or areas would you target for those budget reductions? Is there a department you would be looking to protect on behalf of Lorain citizens?
Well, I would definitely try to protect the police and fire. They are our backbones. Without them, We really can't survive it in a city like this large. As Mr. Brooks brought up, there are multiple positions in the city that make extremely amounts of money, and they may or may not, that's not my job to judge whether or not they deserve it, but that would definitely be a spot to start checking to eliminate money, or not eliminate, but eliminate their money, their amount that they make a year, so they can go back into the funds. And I understand there are different types of funds in the city. There's general funds, there's all different kinds of funds, money is allocated for different things. I understand that. But we should definitely, we'd have to start there, because if you're not going to get willing to give up at City Hall or the city administration of any part, then you're not really a team player, in my opinion, because if you're a team player, you're going to want to give up for your fellow citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. And Ms. Duvall, the same question.
I am not qualified at this time to make a decision on what departments or areas should be cut, because I'm not privy to the budget. I don't know how the money is split. I don't know how many employees there are. I don't know about these administration people that are making these gazillion dollars. So I think I would need to be more informed. I'd be better informed before I could make a decision on that. But I would say that I do not feel we need to diminish our safety forces or our fire departments. I am a single person living by myself, and if somebody is knocking on my door at 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't know them, I want there to be somebody I can call. And so I think the services that the police departments provide are too important to be part of a budget cut, if it's any way possible that can be avoided. And the same with fire. We've had some fatalities here in the city that had to do with fire, and that is a devastating thing to happen. So those are the two that I would really, really, really want to protect and keep at full capacity.
Thank you, Ms. Duvall. And Mr. Kasura, same question.
Thank you. Well, contrary to public opinion, I'd like you to actually, if you get time, walk through City Hall and see that the difference in the number of people at City Hall, you'd be amazed. When I was city auditor, we had 11 people in our office. Right now, that office is running with 5 people. Technology, as you know, people retired, they didn't replace them. They're not fat and sassy, believe me, I can tell you that. So when you look at a budget as a whole, you can't just say, I'm not going to cut this one or I'm going to cut this one. I've gone through that many, many times. Peaks and valleys happen in Lorain, in the economy. So you have to make a decision. Sometimes we might have some police officers that are in specialty things that aren't really doing police work in the streets. So sometimes you got to take a look at everything if you're going to cut. You can't just say definitively, no police fire, we can't touch them, and then everybody else, because sometimes there ain't enough meat over there to carve. So you have to look at the whole picture and do it wisely. And let's hope that doesn't happen in the quite near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kasura. I'll turn it over to Alicia for closing statement.
Okay, you each will get 2 minutes in closing remarks. Mr. Kasura, we'll start with you.
For me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, thanks all of you for coming tonight. It's delightful to see you, being involved in the process, and to all the folks that are running for office. It's not an easy thing to run for office. Put your name out there, so you're to be commended also. And out there to the public, if anybody watching this, anybody in the audience that's a registered independent, as you said, Michael, earlier in this meeting, that these are the people the party's putting up, Democrats and Republicans, and whoever wins will be the people on the ballot. So we're all more independent, Democrats and Republicans, than any independent that's registered independent, because you can only vote for who the party set up. So I want to encourage anybody that's registered independent, I don't care if you vote Democrat or you vote Republican, but vote in the primary. Then you'll have a voice who's going to be there in the general. Because I'm more independent than they are. And I'm encouraging you to vote for me. Thank you.
Mr. Linger, your 2 minutes.
Well, I must turn it off. This has been fun. I appreciate you folks inviting me. Thank you all for coming. It's really kind of cool. I really enjoyed it. Can I see a show of hands how many people have actually been to City Hall? Okay, if you haven't been down, go to a City Hall meeting on a Monday evening. You'll learn some things. It's very useful. And hope to see you there sometime. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, your 2 minutes closing statement.
For far too long, neglecting to hear and embrace the voices of Lorain is common for our current city officials. Voting down issues that will help Lorain is common. For example, street improvements, new business opportunities to promote lakefront and create new jobs has fallen through the cracks under their watch. Our city is in need of results. The blame game can no longer hold the city together. Our young people are our greatest asset. I know the citizens of Lorain are crying out for change. Lorain Proud is real, and we should expect more for our leaders, because I expect more from them. I challenge this community, and I challenge you all today to let your voices be heard on May 2nd and vote for Kyrese Brooks.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis, your 2 minutes.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for coming and allowing us all to speak. I wish all the candidates good luck. But like Mr. Brooks said, it's time for a change. The city needs a change, and there's a lot of people asking for change. I know that it's been many years that the city has went one way, or strictly one way, but it's definitely time for a change. I hope to be part of that change, and I ask you to please vote for me, Raymond J. Dennis, May 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Duvall, your 2 minutes.
Thank you. I taught social studies for many years, and you are my dream come true. You're here, you're concerned about your community, and you're going to vote, and that is everything. If I were to go to City Hall, when I go to City Hall, I'm going to bring a gift for organization and people skills. People who want to solve problems are willing to work together across ward lines, across economic lines, racial lines, whatever. People who want to solve problems can find common ground. And we can be civil and kind to each other while we're doing it. And so that is what I really, really want to bring to City Hall. Ability to solve problems, ability to look not just in our everyday lives here while we're struggling to survive and keep our families functioning, but also we have to look and understand that Lorain is part of a global society. We're going to have to deal with issues that are floating out there in the world. We may not think we have a water problem because we got a big lake here, but no one ever thought that they would reverse the Roe versus Wade decision. And if you remember, a few years ago, there was talk about diverting some of the water from the lake to the southwest. There's nothing that's ever off the table. So you have to keep an attitude of, this is my city, and I'm going to work for the best for it, no matter what. I also want to bring this up, and I said I wasn't going to do it, but hey, I'm going to do it. Someone said to me, well, somebody said if you can't run, you shouldn't run. And so I think that was referring to my cane that I use. And that struck me in a way. I said, now there's two things. Number one is, what is their mindset of diversity and inclusion? Okay? And number two is, Everybody can contribute something. And so that's what I want to understand, you to understand. When I go to City Hall, I'm looking at all the wards. How can we work together? What can we do to make this a better city?
Thank you so much. That concludes this portion of the race. We're going to take a quick break as we transition into our Lorain Mayoral.
We make Marines who overpower the desire to quit with the perseverance to prevail, not for glory, but for honor, for a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yes, for a nicer day, huh?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Gonna get some big ones. Anybody want to wear a life jacket?
I'm good.
No life jacket? That's a deal breaker.
Daddy, you promised.
Daniel Stevens. Yeah, give me one of those life jackets.
This message brought to you by the National Safe Boating Council and the women who nag you. Love you.
What do you wish for? A nice life? Nice things? Or do you wish for something more? A sense of purpose? Do you wish to discover a cure? To write code that cracks an unsolvable question? To further our exploration into space? Or to invent something that changes everything right here on Earth? Well, if that's your wish, make yourself ready. Because when you look back, you'll see that you didn't just make wishes, you realized them.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back for the coverage of our final race of the evening, the much anticipated race for Mayor of Lorain. We are lucky enough to have individuals here with a lot of experience. We have Mayor Bradley, who is the current mayor, who is running again. But we also have Mary Springowski, who, for those of you who, Mary has served several terms as councilor at large, so she is also a decision maker. And Mitch Fallis, who's also served multiple terms. So we have we have three individuals who are absolutely qualified to be mayor of Lorain. And so I'm glad you're going to get a chance to meet them all, if you haven't already done so, and for the community to pay attention to their answers and their responses before you make a decision on May 2nd. So we are going to begin with opening statements, and we'd like to ask Ms. Springowski to begin with her opening statement.
Thank you. Buenas noches y gracias por estar aquí esta noche. Gracias a Chip por organizar este evento. My name is Mary Springowski, and I'm seeking your vote for Mayor of Lorain. I have been your council at large for the past 3 terms, each time as the top vote recipient because of you, the voters of Lorain. And I am seeking to be the first woman mayor of the city of Lorain. My story is Lorain's story. My parents came here as immigrants seeking a better life for their family. I have served as president pro tempore for those 3 terms. I am chairwoman of the Building and Lands Committee, vice chair of finance, and on the Police, Fire, and Legislation Committee. I've also served on the Federal Programs Committee. Over the past 6 years, I have been the person you reach out to when you need something taken care of. I have been available by phone, text message, email, and on social media, all while holding a full-time job, my part-time job as council at large, and while going to school. Your concerns are a priority to me, and I address them as such. I regularly share the ordinances of the city with the residents and explain how they will impact them. I have been an outspoken advocate for the people of Lorain, and am always very conscious of how the actions of the city impact their daily lives. And it is with this in mind that I'm asking you, the voters of Lorain, to vote for me to be your mayor in the May 2nd primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Springowski. Mr. Fallis, your opening statement, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the CHIP organization for offering tonight's candidates forum. My name is Mitchell Fallis. I'm a lifelong resident of Lorain City and a product of Lorain City Schools. At an early age, I learned the value of hard work from my father, Michael Fallis, who worked at U.S. Steel for 44 years and served our country in World War II in the South Pacific. I bring a strong combination of education, executive experience, financial management know-how, and economic development leadership to the mayor's office. I've been a certified public accountant for over 3 decades, and I've helped local businesses, a local bank, and a local credit union improve and prosper financially. My educational background includes a Bachelor of Arts degree in Accounting and Economics from Ohio Wesleyan University. Subsequently, I got an MBA degree in Project Management from Baldwin Wallace College. I have gained valuable experience about Lorain City government by serving you as council at large for 12 years. I bring 18 years of executive experience in the financial institution industries, serving in the capacities as Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, and Chief Accounting Officer. My vision for Lorain is to make Lorain prosperous, based upon 4 pillars. First, safety. Safety is always first. Second, jobs, jobs, and more jobs. We need to upgrade our infrastructure, our roadways, and we're on the cusp of building a new water purification plant. We also need to secure the financial stability of our city because our expenses are $4.8 million greater than revenue. I ask for your support and vote for Mayor of Lorain. Thank you.
And Mr. Bradley.
So I was approached nearly 4 years ago to run for the position of mayor in the city of Lorain. Now believe me, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would run for mayor of Lorain, but after discussing it with my wife and my daughter, I decided that it was time for me to give back to the city that's been so good to me. And I'm just happy that I've been able to do that these last 3.5 years. I know my parents are up in heaven, but I know that they're very proud of me and what I've been doing for the city. I was always taught to work hard and to always leave a place in a better condition than when I started. And I believe I am doing that for the city of Lorain. Now, I've been a lifelong resident of the city of Lorain. After I graduated from college, I joined the National Guard and I served for 6 years. I'm proud to say that I was honored as the Soldier of the Year for the 112th Engineering Battalion, and also I was nominated to be the Soldier of the Year for the state of Ohio, one of 5 soldiers to get that honor. I taught in the Lorain City Schools for 5 years, and I'm proud to say that some of my former students are actually supporting me here. While I was teaching, I went to law school at night, and I practiced law for 43 years. I had a successful law practice, and 6 of our current judges, either former or current judges, were associated with me during their careers. As a young attorney, a group of us attorneys and businessmen decided to take a chance and invest in downtown Lorain. That was in the early 80s. That was the old Smith & Gerhardt's building. And we put our money into that building. We were young. We didn't have a lot to invest, but we took a chance on Lorain when no one else was taking a chance on Lorain. And I'm proud to say that that building has always been occupied fully since we purchased it. You know, Lorain is moving forward, and with your help, we will continue to have progress in our city. As I said when I ran for mayor, it's not about me, it's about all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. We're going to go ahead and move to our first question, and the first question will come from Ms. Pardon.
We're going to start with Mr. Fallis. The question is going to be number 9. Please finish, then explain your response to the sentence, "If elected mayor, I promise the people of Lorain that."
promised the people of Lorain that I would have their best interest in mind. And I think one way to reach everybody in the community is to improve the economic prosperity of our residents, whatever economic spectrum you're on. The city of Lorain needs to build up its tax base. We currently really don't have enough money to pay for the appropriate level of city services that are necessary. So I am interested in building an economic development department for our city to go out and reach out to the 4 emerging industries in the state of Ohio, which is advanced manufacturing, IT, tourism, and healthcare. We're currently really not doing that at all, and so we're just falling behind. And we need to be proactive, talk to those people, start having those conversations, bringing them to our city, and letting them know that what our assets are to increase the tax base for our city. Why is that important? Because we talk about city services. We talk about, do we have the capacity, or what are our priorities if we don't have enough money? Well, it's important to have money to provide city services, and if we don't have that, and maintain that and increase that, our services will decline over a period of time. And so it's imperative. It's imperative that there's a focus on bringing additional revenue to Lorain that this city hasn't had in decades. So that would be my focus. Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Bradley, if you can finish and explain your response. If re-elected mayor, I promise the people of Lorain that.
So I don't just talk the talk, I actually walk the walk. And so when I ran for mayor, I promised the citizens of Lorain that I was going to do everything in my power to reduce the rates for utilities in the city of Lorain. Now, that wasn't just a hollow promise, that is a promise that I kept. My very first month in office, I wrote a memorandum to our city council. And I said to city council that I have looked at the studies that you used to raise our utility rates. And I don't think that those studies were accurate. And I'm asking council to immediately put a freeze on the sewer rates in the city of Lorain. Well, they did it for 3 months, but my administration immediately reduced the water rates down to the 2017 levels. Now, that was a big savings to the citizens of the city of Lorain. Now, I've also said that we were going to work in conjunction with others to make improvements in the city of Lorain. And I've reached out to our county commissioners. They're all 3 Republicans, but guess what? If you work across the aisle, you can get things done. And for the first time in the history of Lorain, I've got the county commissioners giving us $2 million for a racetrack in the city of Lorain. And I've got them giving another $1 million to put a permanent stage at Black River Landing. Now, those are not just promises, that's action, and that's what I'll continue to do for the city of Lorain.
Thank you. And Ms. Springowski, same question. Please finish and explain. If elected mayor, I promise the people of Lorain that.
If elected mayor of Lorain, I will continue what I started doing with Intel by bringing meaningful economic development here. I've continued my discussions with them and have a strong relationship with Pat Gelsinger and his legal liaison down in Washington, D.C. I will also continue what I did when I first introduced ordinance amending 2620, Section 913303 of the sanitary sewer rates, which saved the citizens $12,144,000 in their sewer rates being decreased. I will continue to do that with the rest of the rates through the city on a permanent basis through meaningful economic development that will lower the rates. And once again, in turning economic development and a focus on the safety and the infrastructure and the housing in the city, that the people of Lorain will once again be able to say that they're proud from Lorain and that it is truly a progressive city and is the jewel of the southern portion of Lake Erie. I also promise that I won't make promises that I can't keep.
And the next question will be presented by Carmen.
Thank you, Alicia.
The next question will be question number 12, and we'll start with Mr. Bradley. Mention a strategy and mindset that you intend to use if elected mayor of Lorain.
So, again, as the mayor, I've not only developed strategies, but I've actually undertaken strategies in working together. I mentioned already that I've worked with the county commissioners to bring economic development to the city of Lorain, and that they've been helping us fund that development in the city of Lorain. Another strategy is to clean up our brownfields. In other words, the polluted property that was left here by the industries that abandoned Lorain. I was recognized as one of the innovators in the United States when it comes to brownfield remediation. And I was invited to Oklahoma City to speak there, one of 5 mayors who spoke to 2,000 participants at that seminar to learn about how you clean up legacy cities so that you can actually have economic development. I'm sorry, but Intel did not come to Lorain County, and no jobs came to 44052 or 44053. Now, we have real jobs coming to Lorain. Skylift wants to expand and build their world headquarters here in the city of Lorain. They're going to build it at the Colorado Industrial Park that's been sitting there idle for over 20 years. That's going to bring an additional 200 jobs to the city of Lorain, and it's real economic developments. It's real jobs for 44052 and 44053, and that's what we should be worried about.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. Ms. Brinkowski, the same question. Mention a strategy and mindset that you intend to use if elected mayor of Lorain.
Well, I would be using a team concept mindset in that we're all part of a team and continue many of the projects that we've started on Lorain City Council. Also, one of the projects that I started out working with Dr. Ballinger at LC3 was part of the Intel thing because we've been getting a lot of their suppliers that are looking here at Lorain County. It might surprise some to know that they are still looking at Lorain County because while we didn't have the 1,500 acres they needed in a 3-day period, we have found acreage that would meet their needs since then, so they're just getting the Columbus project off the ground before they come looking elsewhere because of their water needs. And that would absolutely help bringing economic development here with meaningful jobs that mean our children won't have to leave home when they're focusing their education on the STEMS and MEMS projects. And I have a tremendous ability to think outside the box. I don't always do the same things over and over again. I also don't take credit for what other people and what other groups have done. And I will continue to use that mindset of working with council and all of the members at my disposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brinkowski. Mr. Fallis, the same question.
I have a unique skill set of identifying problems in organizations, quantifying them number-wise, and then developing a strategy to provide solutions. How does that impact the city of Lorain? Currently, the city of Lorain has about a $4.8 million expense structure greater than revenue. The only way we're staying afloat is because we have ARPA money covering those costs. In addition to that, we have cash overages from prior years. However, I did a 5-year forecast and determined that if we continue operating the way we have been, our cash will run out in year 2025. So what I will use is my financial skills to develop a financial forecast and a strategy to right the overspending of Lorain City government. How does that happen? You got to work with all the departments and come up with a strategy to make sure your future expenses are less than your projected revenue. And I did a preliminary analysis, and we can get to a neutral position where expenses equal revenues by 2028. But we need a strategy for that. Now, let's quantify that a little bit. How many more new jobs would we need to cover that gap? If we got 1,500 net new jobs in our city, that's an additional $3 million that we would get in revenue, and we need about 4.8. So we need probably in excess of 2,000 new jobs over the next 5 years. And so you need to quantify the problem and then work towards that solution. Work towards getting an additional 2,000 jobs through economic development, or through reaching out to the business community, inviting those folks in. So that's my strength. Identifying the problem, quantifying it, and then coming up with a quantifiable solution to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallis. The next question will be asked by Mike Farrar.
Each of you has spoken about some of the things that you've done. And I mean, every one of you has made significant contributions to the betterment of this city. So let's stay there for a minute. The next question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to start with Ms. Springowski, is please discuss your involvement in improving the quality of life in the city of Lorain. This will allow you to expand on your previous answers.
Well, as a member of council, I believe my record of responding to the concerns of the residents, regardless if it's late evening, if it's weekends, or it's holidays, speaks for itself. Not only to answering my calls, but I most often go out personally to investigate the issue. That's why our past chairman of the Democratic Party in the city of Lorain said, if you want to get something done, you need to go ask Mary to get it done for you. I will continue to do that as the city's mayor. Not only that, I will continue to reach out to the residents seeking their input, as I've done all along. We aren't mind readers, so I don't believe in ruling by edict. I believe in reaching out to the different groups throughout the city and asking them, what do they think needs to be done? How would they approach something, and what would they like to see happening? And I'll continue that as mayor. I will be accessible, I will be transparent, and most of all, I will be available. No idea is off the table, and everybody's input matters.
Thank you. Mr. Fallis, discuss your involvement in improving the quality of life in the city of Lorain.
Well, I will start with, as being your council at large representative, I would say probably 4 years ago, I was actually campaigning on Garfield Boulevard, close to the Lorain Senior Center. And I had a woman who was a senior, talked to me at her door, and she said, I can't afford the water rates in the city of Lorain. You guys just increased those. And she goes, I only get $670 a month in Social Security. And she was on the verge of crying. And I thought about that for several weeks. And then I came up with perhaps a way to help solve her dilemma. And what I did was I approached the utilities director and I asked him to do a 10-year forecast with the goal of seeing if we could reduce our water rates and our sewer rates. And he did several of those forecasts and came up with we came up with a plan to reduce water rates by $6 a month and sewer rates by $6 a month, and saving ratepayers $144 a year, or about $3.9 million collectively to every resident in the city of Lorain. So I really listen to our residents and take to heart what they have to say, and really try to provide a solution based upon my skill set. So that is one way as I was able to help our community out. I'm involved with a lot of other nonprofit organizations. I help the youth by coaching baseball in Lorain. I'm on the board of the Lorain Senior Center, a member of the Lorain Lions Club, and really enjoy being involved in organizations that have a positive impact on our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallis. And Mr. Bradley, your involvement in improving the quality of life in the city of Lorain.
So when you talk about quality of life, I think you talk about putting more money in the pockets of our citizens. And in 2017, our city council, two of the members sitting here on this dais with me, voted to increase the utility rates to the highest rates in the history of the city of Lorain. At the time they took office, the fixed rates for water and sewer was 30 cents per citizen. Those rates have been increasing every year, 2017, 2018, 2019. Did anybody on city council make any effort to reduce those rates? Our city council meetings were flooded with people coming in every meeting saying we can't afford these rates. You are raping us. This is outrageous. Do something. Well, when I ran for mayor, I heard the citizens of Lorain, and I said, I'm going to help improve your quality of life because I'm going to put more money in your pockets. And I did the study. I didn't just talk the talk, I walked the walk. And I made sure that City Council knew that they could afford to reduce those sewer rates, and I took the action to reduce the fixed rates on water. And today, every citizen has $58.50 more in their pocket every month.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. For your next question, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Pardon.
Thank you. And starting with you, Mr. Fallis, it's going to be question number 7. Do you support the affordable housing project being proposed on the west side of Lorain? Why or why not?
The affordable housing project is a project really in central Lorain that was devised by or proposed by a company from Cleveland called Eden. And their goal is to help those folks in our community who are homeless. And they did a study and determined that there were 80 to 90 folks in our community that are homeless, and they needed what is called permanent supportive housing. And they've been in that business for many, many years. I had the opportunity to go visit a couple of their facilities, spoke with one of the managers of one of their facilities, and she told me of the story about a woman who had been homeless, went at their facility. She was not stable at all, and after a year's time, she was able to get stable, and her family members came over and visited them after not seeing her for a year, and was amazed at how well she had adjusted to that environment of a stable, safe environment, and I want to emphasize safe. So every city in America has a crisis with homelessness, and so they came to our city and proposed a solution, and I was very, very excited about it. I'm not too crazy about the location, and I think our city, quite frankly, has more than 80 to 90 people that are homeless. I think that this project, I like to see it move forward, but I think our city needs more. And so I'm in favor of providing permanent supportive housing for our homeless, for our war veterans, and then those folks who are homeless but just need to get a little help so they can get a leg up in life and then move on and be self-sustaining. So it's a great project. Not too crazy about the location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallis. Mr. Bradley, same question. Do you support the affordable housing project being proposed on the west side of Lorain?
So when you speak about affordable housing, I think that we need to look back at our history in the city of Lorain. And I know that we just recently got a Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant from HUD. We were one of 9 cities in the United States that got that planning grant. And it was a big deal. And you know what? That planning grant is going to help us address the problem that we've had in the city of Lorain, historically redlining districts and not providing affordable housing for the people that need it the most. And that's not fair, and we have to make up for it. So we're going to hopefully get this planning grant approved, and it will result in an implementation grant of up to $50 million for the city of Lorain to address from 28th Street, from Broadway all the way down to Grove Avenue. It will take care of the Southside Gardens. We'll put affordable housing there. And again, I get calls all the time from people telling me that there are people sleeping in tents in the city of Lorain. And, you know, we have a Valor home over there on 21st Street in Lorain, and that is affordable, permanent supportive housing for our veterans. And there's no problems over there. It provides them with a place to live. And you know what you do? You give a person who does not have a home, and you give them a home, and they're no longer homeless. And that's what we need to do. We need to take care of the least of our citizens, because if we don't take care of the least of our citizens, then we're really not helping our community.
Thank you. Ms. Brangowski, same question.
Yes, there's a great need for affordable housing in Lorain. I see it all the time on social media. I had one woman just recently reach out to me, and the waiting list for such accommodations is tremendous. I too have visited Eden House and am very familiar. I've referred people to it. I am very supportive of this project. I don't like the location, and the reasons for not liking the location are that it doesn't provide the amenities that the people would need. Many of them, we were told, won't have cars. So if they have medication needs, there's no drugstore available. There's no banking that's close by. They're limited on what they would have access to. I would like to find something that would have more of a residential feel rather than an institutional feel. I have been part of Valor Home. My former UAW Local 2000 and my current UAW Local 1250 was very instrumental in getting Valor Home started. We have often worked for it. We worked in regards to that. At Christmas, I went out of my way to make sure that we had hand-crocheted blankets for a personal touch for all of the veterans residing there. And we have a need, and it's not just our veterans and single people, but we have families with children. So we do need to look at that, and we have to make sure that they're not just all lumped into one area, but that we do something where it is actually the feel of a home and not an institution. Thank you.
Thank you. And Carmen will be presenting the last question.
The next question is going to be question 14, and we'll start with Mayor Bradley. The question is, if elected, your job will come with lots of criticism. How will you handle that?
So, as the mayor, I understand about getting criticized. Matter of fact, it's part of my job. And, my daughter used to tell me when I was practicing law, she would say, "Dad, are you ever going to win a case?" And that's pretty strong criticism from your own daughter. But I learned to have a thick skin, and I learned that if you try your best, and you can look in the mirror in the morning and say, "I did everything I could to do my best," then I can be proud of myself and stand up and say, I can take the criticism because I've tried to do my best. Just back to the question of sustainable housing, I'd like to say that I'm very proud that we were able to give the Haven Center, that provides support for people who need some housing, almost $1 million so that they could add to their Haven Center in the south part of Lorain. But to say that the supportive housing would be in a bad location right across the street from Fligner's Market and a block or two away from the drugstores that are at the corner of 28th Street and Broadway is not giving an accurate picture. We need to have a place where people can get to a market, can get to a drugstore, and get the amenities that they need. And I think that we've seen with Valor Home that that's a perfect location for homeless veterans, and I think that that area would be a perfect location for some of the people that are currently living in tents in our city. We just don't want that.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. Ms. Brinkowski, the same question, please.
I believe that there's two types of criticism, positive or constructive criticism and negative. And both types I will utilize as a learning or a teaching moment and seek to grow and evolve from that. And I'm glad that the Haven Center was brought up because I'm very proud of being part of the City Council that approved that ARPA funding for that project and moving forward. And we did it quickly because we understood that time was there was a time element issue. And I'm very proud of the work that Council has done with the dispensing of the ARPA funds. That task was given to us, and I think that we've done a good job in addressing the needs of the community as they have come forward to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brinkowski. And Mr. Fallis, same question. If elected, your job will come with lots of criticism. How will you handle that?
That's a good question. And I'm the type of person, I'm always evaluating what I'm doing to make sure I do it right. I embarrass easily. I don't like to be wrong. I like to do my homework before I come out and make a statement. However, with that being said, if I'm criticized and that criticism is warranted, I will evaluate that and make adjustments accordingly. If the criticism is unwarranted and somebody bashes me, I have a responsibility to myself to forgive that person and move on and not carry that burden. So that's how I would handle criticism, whether it's warranted and correct or it's unwarranted and just somebody venting. I think that's the best way to handle criticism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallis. I'll turn the closing statement over to Mike Farrar, please.
Okay, thank all three of you for coming, and now you're going to have 2 minutes to put together your closing statement. So we're going to begin with Mr. Fallis.
Thank you. My vision for the city of Lorain is to lift its economic prosperity. For far too long, we've kind of sort of languored when it comes to that. My administration will hire an economic development specialist to reach out to the growing sectors in Ohio. We need to be proactive. As I identified a little earlier tonight, we would need to probably gain 2,000 jobs over the next several years in order to get our budget balanced, and that would be a tall order, especially when you don't have someone who is proactively going out and making inroads and speaking to business owners and inviting them to come to our city to have them relocate their business here. It's a big problem, and if we don't address that and we don't address it now, we are going to be looking at a situation where we're going to have to lay off people, and that's just how it is. I'm very good at numbers. I can forecast. I can see what's going on in our city, and I don't hear any plans from my competitors. We need to keep our expenses at a very, very minimum over the next 5 years, and we need to raise our revenues. And one way we raise our revenues is by attracting jobs and business to our city. That's a paramount importance for that to happen in our city government. Our city's tax base or tax rate is 2.5%. That's not going up. We would be competitively out of the market to raise taxes. So that's not an option for us at all. But the options are working exceedingly hard and developing strategies in a department and a structure that can sustain our city over decades by creating an economic development department to go out and bring jobs to our city, to elevate the tax base, to increase usages of people using water so we don't have to increase our water rates or perhaps even bringing them down. So if we can help the prosperity of the individuals of our city by them being gainfully employed, then they can help the city of Lorain because they're paying more income taxes, and we're going to have more money to pay for police, fire, and to fix our roads. That is the #1 issue in our city. Thank you. And I ask you for your vote between now and May 2nd. I ask you to help me to bring that vision to pass, to bring prosperity to you, the citizens of Lorain. And remember one thing, Fallis will not fail us. I'll make that happen. Thank you.
Ms. Brinkowski, your closing statement.
Nuevamente gracias por estar aquí y gracias a Chip por organizar este evento. I will be a mayor that is accessible to all of the people of Lorain, regardless of party affiliation. You can trust me not to take credit for what others have done, as in the reduction of sewer rates, which was the ordinance introduced by me and voted on by council. And it saved the residents over $12 million since its passing. I will not be a mayor who makes proclamations for headlines in the paper. I will not make promises to the residents of Lorain that I cannot keep. I will be a mayor who brings meaningful economic development to the city, and I will work with the Lorain City Port Authority, as is their function under the Ohio Revised Code, as our economic development department. We cannot rely on grants and federal handouts to resolve the budget deficit, as is currently being done. I will resolve to focus on safety so your family, friends, and neighbors can feel safe in their homes and their neighborhoods. I will also address our infrastructure needs and put an emphasis on revitalizing the entire city, not just a portion of it. I will address the eyesores such as the St. Joseph's debacle and American Crucible, as well as the vacant, decaying houses in our neighborhoods. But I need you to stand with me by voting for me, Mary Springowski, to be the first woman mayor in the city of Lorain. I thank you for this. God bless you. And remember, Mary makes it happen.
And we'll end with Mr. Bradley's final statement.
So, my two colleagues seated next to me have been in city government for a lot longer than I have been in the city of Lorain. The only problem is that it seems like all the progress that's been made in the city of Lorain has been happening the last 3.5 years. So I don't know where they were when they were on council for all these years, sitting back there. And I don't know. I put out a brochure 4 years ago when I ran for mayor, and I made some promises in that brochure. I'd like to see the promises that they made when they ran for city council these numerous times. But I said that we were going to tear down abandoned homes in the city of Lorain. We've torn down over 60 abandoned homes in the city of Lorain since I've been mayor. I said I was going to work with the schools and develop a partnership. Well, we're working with the schools. We're in a $5 million project to improve Campana Park. That is a partnership with the Lorain City Schools that I'm very proud of. We also have helped establish a small business incubator, which I promised to do in the city of Lorain. We received a grant for $250,000, and we are working with Lorain County Community College to help small businesses and new businesses to prosper in our city. I also said that I was going to listen to the residents. We've established an app called Lorain Listens, where citizens can communicate with the city of Lorain, and they can also report potholes and other problems that are not emergencies to our citizens. We've also been working with Zen City to do public opinion polls, to ask people what was the most important thing that you wanted to see the ARPA funds spent on. And they said public safety. So you know what we did? We hired new police officers. When I started, it was 90 police officers. Now it's 110. And our streets are safer. The crime rate went down, violent crime went down 15% last year, and homicides went down 50%. That's a big number, and we're going to keep doing it better because that's what we do. So, I'm very proud of what's happened in the city of Lorain. I'm proud that it's happened while I've been the mayor, and I'm asking you to help me continue to move Lorain forward. You know, Cleveland.com said that Lorain is cool again. Well, we are cool again, and we were voted the best town on Lake Erie by Lake Erie Living magazine. That's because we're doing it, and we're doing it the right way, and we're going to continue to move forward with your help. Thank you very much.
Okay, before we end, Mayor Bradley made a couple statements, particularly as to the specific two people on the stage, what they had done, where were they when. So we're going to give both Ms. Springowski and Mr. Fallis 30 seconds to respond. We'll begin with Ms. Springowski.
Yes, once again, I've said I'm not going to be a mayor who takes credit for what other people have done. Most of these projects that have come to fruition were started under the Rittenauer or the Kazura administration. The current mayor just had the good benefit of coming in at being appointed to the ballot after that last election debacle and never really did anything with what happened with the downtown revitalization or any of that. And I would mention the Hills Department Store site, the grocery store at the former Pickway Shoe Building, the Whittier Housing, St. Joseph's Hospital demolition, American Crucible, the Lorain Products Skate Park, Oakwood Pool. These are all things that have been promised to the residents of the city that never happened and won't happen under this administration, but will under mine.
Mr. Fallis.
Well, as a city council member, my focus several years ago was to establish a rainy day fund in our city. We didn't have that. We were running out of money. We were always running it on a shoestring budget. So I have a really strong ability to look at organizations and figure out how to make them better. We didn't have an audit committee of the city of Lorain, so I established an audit committee. So there were people involved with that as opposed to just people who work for the city of Lorain. Also, I mentioned earlier that I listened to the residents, and I was the one who initiated the 10-year forecast in order to get lower rates on water. Other people probably put the goal out there, but I established a process to try and get a solution. So I'm the candidate who comes up with viable processes, identifies the problem, and comes up with viable processes to come to a solution. So that would be the type of person you would get in me as mayor of Lorain, and I'd be honored to serve each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. What a night. What a night. Thank you to all the candidates that came out tonight. As we conclude tonight, I would like to thank the Lorain City Schools and Dr. Jeff Graham, our superintendent, Lorain County Community College, Joe Bach, TV 20, Lorain High School, our maintenance staff. They did an excellent job of sitting here tonight at a last-minute project. They had another event before us here. ACES, the project volunteers, and also would like to thank Mike Fidel, Carmen Libes, and Alicia Pardon, our moderators, and of course our timekeeper, Pablo Senkis, and my dear sweet grandson, Nathan Pardon. Don't forget to vote on May 2nd. Your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Mr. Bach will be putting this on in about 4 or 5 days, and then it'll be on Lorain City School Television. I will send it to all the candidates so that you know how to access it. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great night.